Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at a Havencraft beacon build basically. So this is an Aegis Haven, more pure than what a Summit Haven deck would be, but I will be looking at Summit Haven pretty soon. Mainly just because I was working on getting the beacons, which I have now managed to obtain at least 2 of. I've gone through and piled most of the excess cards from my collection, things that I had playsets in animated form, or I had 2 of in animated form that I didn't need the extra normal forms of, so that worked out quite nicely. Overall, I've found this deck to be moderate. I would say in the current state of things, it's not the best, mainly because you can't easily deal with Daria in the way that you'd want to. Everything else, though, is a pretty good matchup. I haven't really found any matchup to be in particularly hard. Mostly just the Daria matchup being a little bit of a struggle, which is to be expected. I mean, when Daria can just vomit high-cost followers early turns, of course, a deck that, doesn't have any kind of decent board clear in the early game or mid game is going to lack any kind of way to really do anything. The Dark Johns are just too slow. They've only got 2 damage, it's not enough to kill off most of the boards, and Beacon at 7 just still isn't quite enough to clear off, say, an Oglar at 4 health, so really difficult to clear boards overall. Great against Dragon or Forest or Blood, low cost followers or easy big threats that you can target remove using things like Tribunal. Makes it a lot easier. But other than that, we'll get right into some games and check it out. So first matchup I've got is Sword. It was hard to get any kind of decent matchups with this deck, just because of how the meta is shaped at the moment. So I was mostly running into Daria, which was basically an instant loss, and then the few games that I did get decent games on were still not probably what I would want ideally to show off this deck to its full glory, but I think this is just fine for this kind of unrefined deck, I would say. So, really bad starting hand. The Gemstone is probably the best card. If we don't draw into anything else, it's going to be really difficult, and of course we happen to draw Aegis, which you're only running, I'm pretty sure, 1 or 2 of. Very, very limited amount. Very, very difficult to bounce back against Sword when you start off with such a lousy hand. The Priest of the Cudgel is a really good card, although waiting till 5 to use it makes it a little awkward. And at least Turtle does get some value. Unfortunately, a second Gemstone, so looks like our turn 5 is still going to be okay. And then following that into turn 6 is kind of where things become interesting for this matchup.
You are done for.
Of course, their Vanguard gets a really neat trade, cleaning up quite nicely. Although it is very vulnerable to Priest of the Cudgel and Dark John. Which Priest is going to work really well. We clear out a 6-2, the 2-3, leave up the 2-1. Only maximizes probably 4 damage at the most, and we get a turtle out of this as well, so I think we're pretty set when it comes to our current board. It's just a matter of how well the opponent can bounce back in this situation. White Ridge Swordsman, very interesting. Definitely not an aggro sword build. Looks like they're aiming for more of a control build. So it does make this match a little more interesting. We do get the Snow White, not going to be much use to us. And I do decide to take the Evolve here and trade it. Probably not the best move, but the best I could come up with on this turn, mainly because Heavenly Knight is going to be able to drop next turn, or a Curate, depending on my health total. And then Heavenly Aegis is actually going to be really good in the follow-up turn. Like following up on turn 9. Curate, yeah, well, it's good. It's going to be a little more awkward. At least this way I can deal with that 1-1 ward and set up a really nice body. Barbarossa, great. Pretty much the ideal card to have to trade there. I mean, at least my next turn still has a decent amount of options, I suppose, especially now that we drew into Heavenly Knight. Heavenly Knight opens up a whole new can of worms for us, but Curate is good for the heal. It means even if they do drop an Albert or something, I'm going to be in an okay situation. And again, Barbarossa, kind of expected. I mean, clears out the Curate pretty nicely and deals with everything else. But They left it completely open for an Aegis turn. Even though I was out of evolves, the Aegis still gets its drop onto board for free. No contesture at all. Our opponent though does throw the Albert, so that one's a little damaging.
A little blood won't stop me.
So now I have to weigh up options. I could have either taken the Tribunal or taken the Heavenly Knight. I think taking the Heavenly Knight was the better way to go about it, just because I can attack with the Aegis anyway and potentially set up a decent lethal next turn with Dark John. I think that was a little more solid than, say, just throwing a Tribunal to the board and then having to throw either Snow White or Dark John itself to the board, which would have felt a little more awkward.
I should have foreseen this.
Either way, it ended with our victory, so that's the way we want to go. Following up our sword match with Blood. Like I said, not the best matches to show off this deck entirely, but good enough that it gives you an idea on how the deck functions and what it's meant to do, so that's pretty alright. 2 globes and a March's Hare Tea Time. Don't know if I feel great about that, especially drawing Curate as well. I suppose the only advantage I've got is that I am going second, which means I do get the priority clears with things like Cudgel, which is perfect when you get it off the top. So Globe, sets us up a little bit. Globe's an interesting card in this deck. I feel like most of the time you're only using it to pull the Tribunals, not really using it for much else. I mean, the Gemstones are good to pull as well, but I feel like they're better if you just have them, as you get more value from, say, the Tribunal clearing something. Goblin Mount Ogre, 1/4, not really too much of a worry at all. And basically just another globe turn. And another globe, so double globe, why not? And of course we have to get Gemstone off that one instead of off the first one, which would have been 100 times better. So they set up their Urius and their Demonic Ram just casually. I mean, at least I take minimal damage from that Urius, only taking 1 ping there, and probably another one off that Priest. Priest being able to then remove the 1/3 and the 1/4 quite nicely, while at the same time setting up hopefully our next turn into something better.
I see your weakness.
Leaving up that Demonic Ram though does feel a little bad, just because they have some decent cards like Razor here that works really well when Demonic Ram is on board. But we've seen double Razory, so we know we're not going to get triple Razoried, which is always a good thing. But our health total is taking a beating, so 7 health left. At least we know, like I said, double Razory's out, so we're not going to expect to be rushed down too quickly with those. Their best option would be to have Savage Wolf into another Razory. I think that would be literally the best play they could possibly have. Looks like they didn't have that, so Wicked Fairy. Pretty solid follow-up.
Witness the power.
Want to know enduring beauty?
Looks like they take the trade. Trade kind of works out okay. I mean, I have got options here. Turn 6, not really the best. I mean, Judge is basically my only option. But we do have plenty of healing for 7, so it's going to be interesting, especially when they are only at 5 health left. We have maxed our hand out though, so that feels a little bad. Alright, single from Snarling Chains, and looks like that's it. Wow. Opponent mustn't have had any more burst damage to win the game with. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I'm sorry that they weren't the best games. Obviously I'm trying my best to find games. Sometimes you could spend 3 hours and still only get a couple of games that are average and not that great, which was kind of the case here. I've spent probably 2 hours making this video trying to get some games, and they were a couple of best that I could probably find. So hopefully you could at least enjoy it, and the deck list is reasonably solid. I would probably run 1 extra Salvation if I had it, and probably just finely tune some of the more cards here. Like the 1 Pure Hearted I think is fine because it gives you just that little bit of extra draw, but I think fine tuning the top end is going to be important. maybe taking out the Flog Clerics. I'm not really sure, because then you'd be kind of aggro, weak to aggro. So just don't know how to really handle and structure this deck well. I've been going through other deck lists, and this is kind of the best I've come up with right now. I'm going to look into Summit a lot more heavily. Hopefully that will be in the next few days, say 3 or 4 videos away. But if you did enjoy this video and you want to check out the deck, you'll find the deck list in the description below, along with any other important links. You can also hit that like button and subscribe for more content, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.